very exciting to be here with this amazing full room, TEDx for Sex, in Manchester, my hometown. So when I'm interviewed, what most people when they introduce me, they usually say, I'm a best-selling author of 2 books, and I've been nominated for Best Dating Coach, and I've been mentioned on Fox and NBC, and that's great, and it's wonderful. But the thing is, they see me as how I am now, confident, secure. I've done a lot of work on myself. But what most people don't know about me is that there was a time in my life when I'd completely given up on having any kind of healthy relationship. And I was face down in my front room, and I can remember feeling the carpet on my cheek, and my face was wet with this burning mix of grief and humiliation. Because although everything else in my life was taking off, there was one thing that I just couldn't get right. And the thing that I longed for the most, to have a baby and to have a partner, was the very thing that was escaping me. Cut to the end of the story. And I'd done a lot of therapy, I'd done years of therapy where I've tried to forgive my, abuser, and I tried to forgive myself, and I'd done lots of forgiveness work with my parents, but it seemed that this thing with men, there was just this missing piece. It was a key that wouldn't turn. And I don't know if you've ever been in the bath where you've submerged yourself under the water, and there's stillness and silence and no breath. It's that kind of isolation. So I gave up. I gave up that dream. And I really know how it feels to have both longing and grief at the same time. But I also know how to overcome it. And I did that by loving the places in me that I thought were not lovable. And that's why it's my mission to create healthy sex and love in the world, because let's be honest, none of us really got a decent sex education or love education. My name is Jay Diamond, and I really strongly believe that all of us can have healthy and authentic love and sex regardless of whatever's happened in our past. And that's why when I work with couples now, they get juicy and reconnected instead of living like sexless roommates. And the single women and men that I work with find their soulmate. But the first soulmate they need to meet is the one that's right here. Because without a healthy me, there can't be a healthy we. So when it comes to creating healthy sex and relationships, it really does begin with us. Because here's the thing, all of us in this room have a story. We all have a different story. Some of us want to expand and feel into the very edges of what's available for sex. And some of us just want to heal. Some of us want to experience the bounds of pleasure, and some of us just want to have one decent orgasm. So here's the thing, we're all in the sex and love soup together, kind of banging around and with each other, trying to work it all out. And the thing is, we all know that we kind of all have this sense, regardless of our story, that something somewhere needs to change with regards to healthy love and intimacy in our society. We kind of, it's getting to a point where it's really quite obvious something needs to shift. So I want to talk about 3 points that we can consider out of many that will help us to be that embodiment, to make that change and create that change. And the first one is something I live by, and this is radical responsibility. Because to get from a place of grief and longing into an experience of healthy and authentic love, you better know I had to work on myself, educate myself, re-educate myself, go deep and do the work. I had to have a really good look and sort of stalk what beliefs and behaviors were going on underneath the radar that was driving the results in my life. Where do you need to unravel beliefs about sex and relationships that aren't working for you? Because we've never had a comprehensive education about boundaries, about consent, and about pleasure, how to negotiate our pleasure and someone else at the same time. Some people say that we're conditioned to give our personal responsibility away to a greater system or, a kind of a bigger government. But here's the thing. We categorically cannot wait any longer for someone out there, the governments, the schools, the religious institutions, the media. They ain't going to do it. They're not going to save us, and they're not going to change it. It really is on us. We have to take responsibility for being the change that we want to see. And here's the thing about radical responsibility, okay, which is good and quite welcome, is that we don't have to know all the answers. We just have to take the next step. And then we take the next step. And then we take the next step. The big important thing is that we share what we're learning along the way so that we can create healthier conversations about sex and love inside of our families, inside of our workplace, inside of our community. And somebody's got to go first, knees knocking, teeth chattering. Maybe that person can be you. Number 2 is, if you could accept that your birthright, actually, is that you're made for love and pleasure, how would that change your world? And that's quite a radical notion in itself, because we're conditioned to believe that our worth is in our material gain and our worth is in our work output. What we do determines our value, but love and pleasure demands that we be present, we be emotional, we be connected to the body, we be connected to our desire. If you believed that your birthright was love and pleasure instead of struggle and pain, would you run in the direction of your dreams? Would you ask for what you want more often? Would you have that difficult conversation that this sex isn't quite working for me? Would you stop pouring love into a leaky cup? Would you learn very clearly your no and how to say that no? And would you really stand for your yes, yes, yes? When we're present, when we're loved-based, when we're authentic in our relating, this is how we change the world about sex and about the conversation about sex, how we're having it, how we're doing it, our experience of it. And that is an embodiment that ripples. This is how we change family patterns, not just by talking about it or what we'd like to do or what we think, is should be happening in the world. It's about our own work and what we decide to do on a daily basis and those risky choices that we make that are uncomfortable. And the V word, vulnerability. It's not my favorite word. Number 3 is so important and so scary and so transformative, and that is finding your shame and loving it. To stalk it, to hunt it, and then to love it back into wholeness. You see, the thing is, our stories are different, but something that we pretty much all have in common is hidden shame. That hidden shame might be, I can't orgasm, I orgasm too quick, I'm numb, I don't know what to do with all the sexual energy that I've got. There are so many things. We have Jewish guilt and Catholic guilt and slut shame and gay shame, and I gave a really shit blowjob at the weekend shame. There's all kinds of feelings inside of this body and all kinds of projections from other people. And society really has done a number on us when it comes to sex, love, and intimacy. It really has, but we have to take control, and the only way to do that is to be responsible. And things do need to change. Now is the time to unlearn, to unwind, and to recalibrate our belief systems about sex and love. And that feels scary because we all have different desires and we all have different boundaries. For some of us, this is what we want. And for some of us, it's like, this is what we want. So how do we navigate that? Well, we don't have to be all the same, but we do have to be loving and authentic and respectful. And from that place, we can live and let live. And we can negotiate our boundaries in a very, very healthy way. They say that where there is shame and fear, this is the place where we take on an unhealthy behavior to fill that void. So it becomes essential that if we want to create healthy love and intimacy in our world, that we take that journey to just take a peek at that shame. And instead of pushing it away, that we love it instead. That direct route to vitality and wholeness and aliveness and orgasm is through self-love, radical self-love and responsibility, and loving those places in you that you feel are unlovable. I really believe that miracles can happen when we love those places. So I want to leave with a very short poem by Laura Mathis. And before I do, you can find me on Facebook at Ms. J-A-Y Diamond, or online at jdiamond.net, and there are loads of free classes. You can go through there. Laura says, kiss your friends' faces more. Destroy the belief that intimacy must be reserved for monogamous relationships and be more loving. Embrace platonic intimacy. Embrace vulnerability. Use emotionality as a radical tool against a society which teaches you that emotions are a sign of weakness. Tell others that you're proud of them and offer support readily. Take care of the people around you. And to that, I would add, know your boundaries and speak your truth with love. My name is J Diamond, and it is my prayer that you will be radically responsible and ultimately fabulously orgasmic.